this podcast is absolutely going to be probably one of the best ones I've ever done. I'm not at the Ice House. I'm not in Pasadena. If you notice, I'm outside of someone's house. Somebody who has a front row seat to legends in the last 50 years. I'm just saying, you're not going to want to miss this. Come on, let's see who it is.
It's Monica Madrid.
It is. It is.
Sweetie. So good to see you.
So good to be seen. Elliot, are you ready to do this?
I don't know if I'm ready, but I'm so glad you're here.
Oh my God, me too. These people have no idea what's in store.
Nor do I.
I know. I'm going to give it to you. Let's
Come
go.
on in, have some fun.
This is going to be one of the most personal, fun, and exciting interviews that I ever do. Tonight, I'm here with my friend and an amazing human. He is a legendary media consultant and author. When he began his career, he was the youngest talk show host in America, interviewing thousands of stars, celebrities, musicians. His career has spanned over 5 decades. He's represented several stars, legends actually. People like, John Lennon, Yoko Ono, Bob Dylan, Crosby, Stills and Nash, Paris Hilton, Diana Ross. The list goes on and on, including advising me, yours truly. We've had almost 30 years of friendship where we've spoken on these chairs and on this couch several times for hours and hours. And now I'm going to take you in to a peek of what a life is with Elliot, my friend. Please help me welcome Elliot Mintz. It's just me, but I got to clap because you're so amazing.
I wish I could live up to half of that stuff. I mean, it's factually accurate, but I'm not a legend. I'm your pal.
Well, okay, that's not true. You are a legend, but you are my pal. And I'm so excited for the next probably couple hours because there's just so much to talk about. And I can't wait to get into it.
Monica, I am not sleepy. There is no place I'm going to. We can send out for omelets at 4 a.m. There's a delivery place. Take your time. Ask whatever you want to ask. And let's just enjoy each other's company.
Normally, I try not to talk about anything until the cameras are rolling, which I've learned through this, probably heard it from you many, many years ago. But it slipped out. You said Elvis would be 91 today. And I thought that was amazing because my mom is behind us, who's a big Elvis fan. And I am a big Elvis fan, in which you may or may not know, believe it or not, Elvis was my first concert. Not many people can say that they saw, at my age, saw Elvis Presley in person.
How old were you when you saw him perform?
I was probably like under 3 because I think he performed, my mom will verify, in Long Beach right before he passed away. And my mom will tell you, she was like, told my hippie dad at the time, we are going to see Elvis and Monica's going with us. And I was under 4 for sure. And as she tells it, she took money out of her savings account to make sure that we saw Elvis because he was not looking so great at the time.
No.
And she knew probably might be one of his last concerts. So he was at Long Beach Convention Center. And so was Monica Madrid.
And tangentially, I only got to see him perform once myself.
Oh.
In Las Vegas. Towards the end of his career, when, to be kind, he was not in the best of his shape. But I remember him from the very, very beginning, when I was just a teenager. And not only did he change everything that followed, but we're still talking about him 91 years later after his birth. I still absolutely love his music. When he was very, very, very young, he would kind of hang out in the alleys and look through the windows of churches and see the gospel singers singing. Now you have to remember that biblically and historically, throughout the course of time, men never shaved. And regardless of whatever your religious faith is, they did not have disposable razor blades or anything of the kind.
Right.
All men had beards. Jesus had a beard. Gospel singers in the late 1950s would sometimes remove their beard, but always retain their very, very long sideburns.
I see where you're going with this.
That sometimes came down to just above their lips. They were paying homage to basically biblical precedent. They were gospel singers. They were singing the words of that time. Elvis listened. He was moved. He would later be quoted as saying that was his roots, that his roots was always in the church, always in gospel music, and was the first contemporary artist to wear those sideburns. When he appeared on the Ed Sullivan Show and all those other TV shows, the fact of the matter is that 99.99% of the world never saw a man wearing sideburns. They thought it was kind of sexy and kind of attractive. But just note of all the people who followed him, why they wear the sideburns. Look at all the videotapes and all the pictures of John Lennon. John always wore long sideburns out of homage to Elvis. He changed the landscape. There is not a single contemporary musician who does not honor the fact that he liberated us. He changed everything. In the 1950s, when he first appeared, he could not be played on the radio.
Right.
I discovered him in a jukebox at a local pizza place when I was a kid. And I put a dime inside of a machine. I have a little replica of an old jukebox from the 50s here. And I heard him singing Hound Dog. And I heard him saying, they said you was high class, but that was just a lie. You ain't never caught no rabbit and you ain't no friend of mine. It was a defiant statement about everything that came before him. In the Old South, the hound dog was considered a man who lived off of a woman's earnings. He would sit at home on the couch.
Oh.
Woman would go out and usually do housekeeping work or something like that. And, well, we could do a show about Elvis. All I can tell you is that I think it's kind of fortuitous that we are having our conversation on the 91st birthday of Elvis's life.
So do I. And that's why I was like, you know what? Well, I'm going to, and I love that because I don't ever have a specific script. I don't work that way. I have an idea of some topics and then we run. And so I'm like, oh, we're going to talk about it because Elvis was such a big part of my life growing up. The fact that that was my first concert.
I love that.
And I remember it. I remember the Space Odyssey, that the lights were down and the strobe lights. I remember that. And who knows what that did for my music somewhat career that we'll talk about before I got into football. Yes, this is if you're new here, yes, this is a football podcast. This is football. You're on the right podcast. But we talk all things life and music, and that's what I like to do. I like to blend football with my music. And so growing up, my mom was a diehard Elvis fan. This is all coming back to me. She's sitting back there. Shout out, Mom. Hi, Mom.
Hi, Mom.
She, I remember playing the Hawaii Live album over and over, and I would get my vacuum out and I would sing, what was that? CC Rider. I could go on and on. So the fact that I'm here with you, my mom's behind you, Elvis's birthday, I'm good with all of that. Everything's just lining up.
I feel that we're all shadows in Elvis's cast right now.
You did say something that I didn't know. So John Lennon, I knew he was a fan of Elvis, but I didn't know he was to that extent where that's where his sideburns came from.
John Lennon was famously quoted as saying, quote, "Before Elvis, there was nothing," close quote.
I love that.
Now, John sometimes made very declarative statements. I mean, before Elvis, there was Beethoven and Brahms and Bach and
right.
Others, but we got it. It liberated John.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, from the time that he heard Elvis, that was it. Up to the end.
Up to the end. And we're definitely going to go there. But people are probably wondering, Monica Madrid from Santa Ana, California, how does she know Elliot Mintz, the legend? And I know you don't, it's not your, I know, but you are a legendary media consultant. That's just a fact.
I'm just going to, I think I've gotten to a point where I should just accept these phrases, shut up, and
I'm going to say it over and over.
Oh dear!
But no, I won't say it anymore. But these are facts. These are not. This is just what it is. And so I want to talk a little bit about how we met and how we ended up here, because it all comes full circle. And the best part I always loved, and you probably don't remember, but we met on Sunset Avenue at a Playboy party, and that just makes sense to me.
Yes.
I don't know if you remember. I remember just a moment of it. It was a very quick meeting. We were standing up. It was a very packed party. I have no idea how I got there. Somehow, I worked my way in, and some star-studded people were there, and you and I ended up meeting. Do you remember any of it? You won't hurt my feelings. If you don't.
I remember meeting you, but I have no recollection of that Playboy party.
Okay.
I mean, in my life, I probably attended 6 or 7 parties at Hugh Hefner's house, and I viewed them all as fairly mild and innocent. When people talk about what life must have been like at the Hefner mansion and the grotto, and all the suggestions of what occurred, to me it was pretty innocent. Maybe I caught it on a kind of timid nights.
Right. Sometimes
you would show movies. Yeah, sometimes there would be girls in the grotto swimming nakedly.
Right.
And people would be embracing. But nothing more than that. I think by contemporary standards, it was tame. But I remember you, and I remember your presence. Mm-hmm. Because most of the other women that I interacted with, that I met, were Playboy bunnies, Playboy-type girls.
Right.
Nothing against them, and a few still remain friends of mine. But you were not I felt that you were in a place not of your own choosing. You may have wanted to go to see what it was like. A lot of women did. But I didn't feel you were at home there. Is that true?
Absolutely. That's very interesting that you said that. Thinking back, those kind of things were really not. I was there probably. Who knows why? Maybe the network. I don't even know how I got in, quite frankly. But you nailed it. I didn't feel home at all there. But see, there are no accidents.
No.
So maybe I was supposed to meet you. And what would happen is we must have had a conversation, and I mentioned that I was a songwriter.
Yes.
And this is the part that I'm just shocked and so thankful and grateful for. You said, "Oh, I must read them sometime."
Your lyrics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was shocking to me. I had been around the world of, I came from Soul Train. I was on center stage.
Yes.
So being around people in the music business, I had been around people. But I didn't even, okay, and I know you won't be offended. I had no idea who you were. I just liked you. I just instantly was drawn to your aura. You looked me in the eyes. Nobody else in Hollywood had ever looked me in the eyes like that.
Really?
No. It was different. And you have the same look this moment that you did the very first night. And I have a famous phrase that is only famous to me, but this is coming from being in sales for over 30 years. I always say, almost always, how it begins is how it ends.
Yeah.
100%.
I like that.
And it's not ending between us, but it just shows that instant bond that I had with you. And you said, "Oh, you're a songwriter. I must read them sometime."
Yeah.
And you actually followed up. There was no cell phones at the time. We exchanged numbers.
Yes.
And shockingly enough, I called and it was the right number. So that's good news. And you made an appointment and you said, "Come to my house and bring your lyrics."
Yes.
Now, what you might not have known is that I had a big black notebook of over 300 songs that I had written, that I have typed out. And my mom's person was Elvis, mine was Prince. And so I always felt like Prince mentored me. I got to tell him that later on in years, but I felt like I was a protege of Prince. And so I had these lyrics and I came over.
Yeah.
You invited me to this house and I was right here. And I don't know if you remember, you were so nice. You said, "I'll be right down." You came down and I took this great big box of lyrics, a folder, typed, by the way.
Yes.
Categorized.
Yes.
I think I had it categorized love, spiritual, romantic, and I was never political, but I had a little thing for something about the world, right?
Yes.
And you took my black book of songs, said, "I'll be back in a little while."
Monica, when you tell the story of you coming here with your lyrics, me welcoming you here, and me going upstairs to my office to just review them, you express it as something almost like groundbreaking news.
Yeah.
But it isn't to me. It wasn't to me back then. I've always had a natural sense of curiosity about other people. I think it was the fundamental reason why I was successful as an interviewer. I took great interest in what other people said, more so than what I said. I was a really good listener. So when I would encounter people along the way who said that they were working on a draft for a screenplay, or that they had a concept or they had an idea, and could they just bounce some of that off of me? I said, yes, of course. Why not? And when you brought your lyrics here, the natural thing for me, I mean, it would be completely unnatural for me to have said, well, thank you, you can leave them here and I'll get to them when I get to them. Or I could have read one and said, this is good or this is bad, or, it would just be nebulous and unimportant. So I took, whatever time I took to read a couple, and I knew 1, 2, 3, 4 songs into it that you had the power, that there was something coming off of these pages that spoke to me about you and the things that you wrote about. So in reciting the tale, which you did, and it's true, it was no big deal for me to do. That's just curiosity, decency, and respect.
Which a lot of people don't have.
I try and focus on the ones who do.
I know. And I need to let you know what that meant to me. It meant the world to me. Just because you came down and you said these words, you said, Monica, and I think you said something like, they were good in your way. But then you said something that threw me. You said, you remind me of Joni Mitchell.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I was really happy, but in all true transparency, I was like, this sounds amazing, but I don't know who this is. I'm going to have to figure this out when I get home.
Who Joni Mitchell was.
But I knew it was a compliment. So I was like, thank you. I don't know what that is. I'll figure it out. But I remember saying, it sounds familiar, but I couldn't put it together. And then when I went home and I did my research, I was really taken aback and appreciative. So thank you. It kept me going as a songwriter.
For your viewers, all they have to do is Google Joni Mitchell.
Right.
Who was probably the most prolific female songwriter of the 20th century. I don't like to say prolific female songwriter. She was one of the most prolific songwriters, period, and known as being the queen of Laurel Canyon, and came along when the Laurel Canyon music scene burst, and was known for her very personal autobiographical lyrics that spoke to her experience. I've looked at life from both sides now, from win and lose, and still somehow it's life's illusions I recall. I really don't know life at all. Yeah, that's the stuff that was searing, and I detected a little bit of that in what you had written, because you were basically a very non-sensorial woman. And in the years that I've known you, well, you just, you express how you feel. You would make a bad PR agent. A bad spin doctor.
That's why I have you, in case I get into trouble. So far, so good, though.
Knock wood.
It's a full circle moment. That meeting, you said one other thing, and then I don't know if you know this, but you said Monica Madrid, and you said, I like that. And you looked at me and you said, don't ever change your name. I don't know if you know that.
I don't remember saying that.
Yeah, you said don't ever, something about Monica Madrid, that has a ring to it, don't ever change your name. So here I am, I haven't changed my name. And though I'm, an active songwriter, which we'll get into, somehow I ended up writing a songwriter for my quarterback, Brock Purdy, which is just wild to me. But we left that meeting. You were gracious. And then time went by, life happens. We stayed in touch. And what a lot of people do or don't know, I was in the music business. I had a record deal on the table with Interscope Records. A lot of people, You could have had a Monica Madrid record, but instead they signed Tupac Shakur, whatever. So I have that in my world, and it broke my heart when I didn't get that record deal. It really broke my heart. At a young age, I didn't know how to deal with it. Fast forward, then I run into this incredible singer by the name of Sarah Martin.
Yes.
And I remember thinking, I can't do music again. It broke my heart. As an artist, as a songwriter, I did everything. I was my own manager, all the things. But I just heard this voice, and I had to do something with it. And my instant thought was to call Elliot.
Yes.
I said, I need to know if I'm crazy, or is this one of the most amazing voices I've ever heard? And I called you. And I said, Elliot, do you mind if I want you to hear this song? I need to know if I'm crazy. I literally said that. And you said, drop it off. Back then we had CDs, Elliot.
Yes, I remember them.
And you said, drop it off in my mailbox because you weren't going to be home, and I'll listen to it.
Sure.
And I said, great. And I dropped it off. And I thought I was going to hear from you weeks, days. Again, this is what I'm used to in that world. You called me on my big phone. I remember talking like this.
Yes.
Remember those? It was like a
With
big phone with the antenna.
Yes.
And it was you. And I was literally just had got down from the drive from Mulholland all the way. I was pouring gas. I was filling up my car. 240 Nissan probably, or something like that. And you said, Monica, this voice, do you remember what you said?
Oh, not verbatim.
That's okay. You said, this is the best voice I've heard since Barbra Streisand.
Wow.
And I say all that to say we went on a whole nother journey.
Yes.
And that was a journey of music. I was managing. I was like, Elliot, I'm not a manager. I can't manage this person. I'm just going to write songs with her. And you, again, gave me more advice. Mm-hmm. And I'm saying these stories because I want people to know that I was just a no name, so to speak. I was a human, and you were very kind to me. But in your world, I didn't have songs on the radio. I didn't have gold records. I didn't have movies. And you treated me so kind all the time. And it means the world to me. And to be able to be here all these years later to say thank you.
Oh, Monica, bless you.
Means a lot. And you said to me, there's this group, and they're out of Liverpool. And their manager wasn't a manager. He was a record store owner.
Yes.
And you proceeded. Do you remember that?
Yes, of course. Brian Epstein.
And you said, you can do it.
Yes.
Thank you.
See, what surprises me always is all the things you're talking about is just simple, fundamental decency and respect. And in the time that I came alive in this world and achieved whatever prominence that I had achieved, that's the way people behaved. At least that was my experience. I know that things have gotten a little crustier in 2026. I'm on to that. And I know that people walk around with, quote, the bottom line in their mind. Well, if I can't make any money off of this person, why am I even bother giving them the time of day? I know that that's comfortable in some circles. Never was for me. I never entered into what I entered into for the money. There was no money. When I became a talk show host or a DJ, that was $60, $75 a week on a good week before being fired for some transgression. If you do your work and you do your work well, they'll throw money at you. That just comes with the experience. But don't do what you do just because you think you're going to earn a buck off of it.
Exactly. And, I remember talking to you, and because now you were giving a little bit of suggestions and advice. I ended up managing this person and writing
Yes.
music with her. We were selling out shows in LA. It was one of the best times in my life. We were selling out the Mint. You always had front row. You were there at almost every show with our Chardonnay. We had so many nights here talking about music, and you were listening to our songs and Is There an Ocean and all these things. And one time I called you for some reason, and you said, Monica, hold on. Yoko is on the other line. And I always was like, does he mean Yoko Ono? And I slowly was figuring out really what you did. And your story, for anybody who doesn't know, is amazing. Yes, you were a DJ. You've interviewed everybody who is almost anybody for over 50 years. I don't even know how someone like you, who you talked about when you were younger, stuttered. I don't know how else to say it. And you would end up interviewing stars, legends. They opened up to you. How do you feel now looking back at your career, knowing that you had all these amazing stories? People want you to write a book. You ended up writing a book about the Lennons. You were John Lennon's best friend. Bob Dylan. It's just like rattles off. Out of all those times, what do you think got you there and kept you there?
I'm a good friend. When I sign up in the friendship department, you got to do something really radical to make me abandon the oath. I was a good listener. I was a good supporter. I was curious. I was respectful. Didn't want anything from any of the people that I encountered. In all the years that I was with John and Yoko, we never exchanged a dollar. We were just pals. There was no money. After 1980, when Yoko needed somebody to speak for the estate, she assigned me that task, and I was paid for that, but not during the course of the relationship. And, when Bob Dylan would come to this house and sit where you're sitting now, we would just talk into the night. It wasn't about me asking him what blowing in the wind meant or his legendary status or any of that kind of stuff. I talked to him and he talked to me from a point of view of friendship. I never viewed my tale to be all that extraordinary. I know that it's one of the reasons I have the aversion to the legendary thing. All of this stuff just came very naturally and, of course, magically to me. I tend to believe I'm one of those guys who believe in destiny. I think that the book was written before I arrived, that I was meant to do what I did. And at this point in my life, my role is to share what I experienced. That's what I go about doing now for the most part. And having a little fun at the same time.
Mm-hmm. A lot of fun.
Well, I try, yes.
A lot of fun. And for some of the people that don't know how deep, you were John Lennon's best friend.
He was my best friend. I never speak for him.
Gotcha.
But
okay.
He was my best friend. Yoko was my best friend.
And what a lot of people probably don't know is you actually met Yoko first.
Yes.
And she was the first person to actually call you after an interview, right? And thank you for the interview.
You do your research very well.
Well, it was interesting because I've known you for so long. And by the way, I have to say, we have been in these chairs and we have talked for 6 hours, 8 hours before. Chardonnay nights. You're in my book, my memoir. You have your own chapter called E, because I call you E.
I've read it and I loved it.
Well, I wanted to make sure you're okay with it.
Of course.
But you, I mean, hours we would just talk, and I remember thinking, man, I wish we had a camera or video, because we had some great conversations and who knew that I would end up having a podcast where I'm like, it dawned on me, I'm like, wait, I have a podcast now.
You put it out in the universe and you created or manifested what you dreamed of. And here we are in front of the fireplace with me having a glass or two of Chard and us having our unfinished conversation.
And yes, it is a full circle moment. There were so many amazing stories. And when I talk about you, I tell people he is one of the nicest humans I've ever met. And he's hilarious because you are funny. You are a funny guy, I have to say. And you have these great stories. And I'm like, I wish other people could hear some of these stories. I remember a story that you told me about Madonna. And stop me if you would never tell me something that I think wasn't kind of already out there, but you would maybe give me more in depth. You would never tell me something that wasn't okay.
Yes.
That we know.
Yes.
But all of these little things that back then, don't forget, there was no TMZ, there was no internet. So if you didn't know somebody or you weren't in the room, these stories were hard to find.
The art of storytelling is essential. It's been with us since the tribal drum. It predates texting. The only way to keep moments like we're discussing now alive is to talk about them. Talk about them. Of course, one of the reasons that I had whatever success I had is that I knew the line of how to keep confidences when a public figure told me something deeply personal about their lives. They weren't going to see it the next day in page 6, that I was not going to exploit the relationship for personal gain. But I apply that to friends who... I have a friend now who is currently going through a divorce. I happen to be friends with the husband and friends with the wife. I would like to keep it that way. Mm-hmm. When one of them told me of their plans, I said, you do what you do, but just understand I don't take sides. I hope when the dust settles, I can be friends with both of you. And don't tell me any secrets that you don't want the other one to know about. That's for your lawyers. Sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't. It all comes back down to confidences and decency.
That actually reminds me, in going back to the research, we've been friends for so long. I was like, I'm gonna research him like I would somebody else. So I went down the rabbit hole. I didn't want to take our friendship for granted. I still wanted to do my research. And you bring up something that I found interesting as well. There was a time, and tell me if I'm wrong, when John and Yoko separated. And I thought about that when I found out. I thought about you, how that might have put you in the middle, and you kind of just answered my question of how did that make you feel, knowing that you were really good friends with both of them, and Yoko, I think you were really close to as well. Can you tell me a little bit about how that was for you as a friend?
It was very difficult. I mean, for those who are not familiar with the whole John and Yoko odyssey, there simply came a time in their relationship where it wasn't working. And it was Yoko who suggested that a separation was in order and she suggested that John leave New York, go to L.A., and be accompanied by their personal assistant, a rather young, intelligent, responsible lady who would basically look after John while he was away. You got to remember, somebody like John had never been in a grocery store. He never went shopping. He was a teenager in Liverpool, and he became a Beatle. And from that point on, he didn't know how to drive a car. Or he did, but poorly.
He never put gas in the car, right?
Oh, hardly.
Okay.
He wouldn't know what to do with that thing.
Right.
And the two of them, while in Los Angeles, developed a romantic relationship. I would speak to Yoko virtually every night during what went on for more than a year. It's been frequently referred to as the lost weekend. And I would talk with John, and I would see John. He was in L.A., so we would do stuff together. I would go to recording studios with him. We would hang out together and, all the stuff that we would do. And I did explain to both, don't tell me something that you don't want the other person to know. In those days, John's most frequent instruction to me was, tell Mother, that was his name for Yoko, tell Mother, I'm okay. I want to come back to New York and I want to be with her. That was the constant message. When Yoko would call and say, how's he doing? I would say, he believes that he's ridden himself of whatever the demons were, and he wants to come back and be with you. He's ready. And she would say, no, he's not. And I'll let him know when he is. It was very awkward. And both of them just told me enough without telling me too much.
Did you think they were going to get back together?
Always.
You always knew, kind of like,
Always.
You're like, when are they going to just get it together?
Yeah, I mean, I still view the John and Yoko story in those kind of ideal romantic terms, Scott and Zelda Fitzgerald. It's a Romeo and Juliet tale from my point of view.
Right.
People say that I over-dramatize that and put too much into it, and there were just two people who happened to be very, very famous and had a lot of money. But no, I felt that they were destined to be together from the beginning, even before they met. And whatever their issues were would be resolved. And of course, there came a time when Yoko said he might be ready, and she invited him back to the Dakota. They spent a little time together, and 9 months later, John Lennon was born. So clearly, things worked out.
Things worked out. I wonder how she knew it was time, and I love that she was handling when you're going to come back. In these days, we call it couple goals, I think.
What's it called?
Like couple goals. Like it's like a hashtag, couple goals. Like John and Yoko would be like couple goals. Like if they had an Instagram page right now, I would put couple goals.
I never heard the expression.
Yeah, I don't know. I just made it up. But like
No,
couple goals, like this is kind of funny, Elliot. You and I, remember how we talked about how it starts is how it ends?
Yep.
We met single, and we're still single today, you and I.
That is true.
But happily single. Would that be a true statement?
Most of the time.
Sometimes you're lonely?
Yes.
Me
You?
too. Sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes, no matter how good things are, I look over at my little dog, J-Lo, and I'm like, just you and me, kid. For now. Let me ask you that. You really gave a lot to your clients. We've talked about this actually several nights. I call them the Chardonnay nights, but I am, as you know, been sober over 17 years. So
Yes,
now
I do.
I have sparkling water, and but the conversations were always the same.
Yes.
And I remember asking you about that. And I don't know if you remember, but you said, I tried. And I don't know, I did some research. It's so many. I didn't know how many girlfriends you have, but you were kind of busy for a while. But you told me one specific time, and you said, I think you were representing Diana Ross at the time. And you had a lady friend, I'll say, and something to the fact that you were going to go on vacation. It was like finally going to go on vacation.
Yes.
And I think, you could tell me the story. You were at the airport and got a call.
Yes.
Am I wrong on this?
No, you were right. There was a lady that I was very, very close to romantically, and we planned a trip to Hawaii.
Yep.
And she always knew what my situation was, that my first allegiance in the world was to the service of my clients. They expected that of me. They paid me for that. They trusted me that I would always be there. And I said, I want you to know whatever plans we have. And she kind of got it, abstractly. But then something very specific occurred. We were on our way to Hawaii for a nice 1-week gorgeous vacation in paradise. And I got a call from Miss Ross to come to Europe. I think it was Sweden, I'm not exactly certain, to handle some media matter for her. And I told the girlfriend, the former girlfriend, that if she wanted, here's the first-class ticket, go to Hawaii, enjoy yourself. I'll join you as soon as I finish with this European problem. It could be a day or two. Or we can delay our vacation and...
I'm laughing because I'm picturing the woman looking at you as you're telling her this.
She looked at me as if I was from Mars.
I had a feeling. That's why I didn't mean to laugh, but I'm like, I can see as a woman, we're like,
No, it didn't. Look, it's one of the
it didn't go well.
Hardly. And it was the end of our relationship. And it's happened that way once or twice before. Nobody really understands or understood back then what my obligations were. It's different now, but so is dating. And so most people in America today are single. Most. Among Generation Z or X, 60% of them spend virtually all of their time by themselves. They don't talk with people, they text. They don't have physical relationships. 1 out of every 7 people currently on the web in the world today is on a porn site.
Ooh.
1 out of every 7 people
Wow.
who click around are looking at pornography. For men, that's their Playboy magazine. I learned what I learned about that subject from Hugh Hefner. In his magazine, he told us how to behave and what to look for, and the Playboy philosophy. I was 16, 17, or 18, and I've had a conversation with my parents about it, of course. Today, boys look at that, and that's their education as to how to treat women, what their expectations of women should be. Conversely, women look at that stuff. 40% of all people who view porn sites are female. 40%. And through that, as well as social media, they receive their dictates as to how they're supposed to look, behave. It's all unfair. It's all it's based on a house of mistruths. So, being alone for you or I will not come as breaking news to most of the people who are viewing our conversation. They're going to say, I'm there as well. And some will say, well, look, she's this beautiful woman, and she's intelligent, she's sophisticated, and she has this marvelous franchise and all the rest of it. How is it possible? Well, whenever anybody asks you that question, hold up the cosmic mirror so they can see themselves and say, I ask you the same question. Why are so many of us alone?